Hey everybody, I'm the Flying 690, formerly the Flying KLR, and I'm going to do an oil change on my KTM 690 Enduro R. It's a 2014, and it is early June of 2020 right now. I've done lots of oil changes before, but I'm also going to be doing clutch plate replacement. So I got a few things on the go here, and I'm also going to be doing a countershaft seal because I got some leaks going on. So I'm going to do step by step, but I'm going to start with the oil. I'm going to drain that first, and then I'm going to clean the screens. I'll replace the filters, and then I will proceed to the clutch plates. So here we go, let's have some fun. Alrighty, let's get this drain plug out. I've already loosened it. It is a 13 millimeter plug or bolt, and let's see, maybe I'll loosen it a bit more. And I'm going to try not to make a complete mess. So we'll see what happens here. I know I'm blocking the light. Here we go. Alright, now that we're pretty much drained out, I can show you that the drain plug is nice and clean. My crush washer, and didn't have a whole lot of magnetic little bits and pieces on there. There was a few. There's still one on there by the looks of it. So I'll clean that off and reinsert the plug. We don't need that anymore. That's it. That's 14.8. Alright, we're going to move on to the screens now. So this is the outer cap with an O-ring. And the screen, we'll look at the screen here. Looks pretty clean. I don't see any bits and pieces, which is always good. So this plug for the screen is out, and I'm just going to reach in there and see if there's any shavings and crap. Doesn't seem like anything. I've seen a couple people do oil changes online and come out with like tons of crap. Crap on the screen and crap inside the screen plug hole. So maybe that just means I'm fortunate. So we'll just clean out this hole a little bit. And then we'll reinsert the screen and move over to the next screen. So right, there's the plug with its O-ring. We'll just put that back in there. And it kind of fits into place, obviously. Alright, these oil screen plugs are at 15 Newton meters or 11.1 foot-pounds. Okay. 11.1 pounds. Sorry for the noise, we'll get that out of the way. Get on there. An extension would have been smart. And that's it. Alright, We're going to take the oil screen out of the front. That's this guy right there. Let's break it real quick. Sorry for the noise again. I probably could have cleaned this a little bit first. I don't have the cleanest bike because I actually use it off-road. I noticed there's a lot of enduros on the internet that don't have any dirt on them. I don't get it. That's not going to work. This is the dumbest way to do this part. Sorry. I'm not a mechanic, if that wasn't already painfully obvious. Still lots of black oil coming out, obviously. Hence the oil change. More importantly, well, I needed to do an oil change anyway because I didn't do it at the end of the season, which in Saskatchewan is truly putting your bike away for the winter for 5 months. Coming out and saying hi to it once in a while, starting it up maybe. This year I really didn't do any of that. I might need my little spring hook. I shall return. This is the handiest little tool. It's a spring pusher and a spring puller, which works for so many other applications, it's not even funny. All right. Geez, that looks pretty clean too. I'll just dry it off and see how it looks. If I don't see any metal filings, then I'm going to just leave it dried and stick her back in. Well, okay. It's like surprisingly clean. That's good. And I'm going to reach in here and again just see if there's any shavings. There aren't. So we'll dry off this little plug hole. Check the O-ring. Looks good. Okay, screen's going back in. Okay. That's on. Okay, we're going to do the left side filter now. So we got to undo these two bolts. They are 8mm bolts, and when we put them back in, they're at 4.4 foot-pounds or 52.8 inch-pounds. So we'll have to remember that. I've got my other smaller torque wrench set up for 52.8, give or take. Taking these out carefully so I don't drop them in my oil pan. There it comes. There's one. They're the same size, that's always good to see. Same length. I don't see any Loctite on them. So I'm not going to put Loctite on when I tighten them. And I'm going to be using OEM brand filters. That's the short one. This is the long one. My KTM dealer in Saskatchewan charges me a lot of money for these things. Alright, so let's see about getting this thing off. I forgot to put some paper towel in there. Ah, whatever. We'll just let that drain a little bit. I will use my trusty spring hook to pull that filter out. I turn the camera around, but my hands are all slimy. Looks good. Not sure what it's supposed to look like, but it looks good. So we're going to just clean this. Dry it off. Get the new long filter ready. Now this one this one has a closed end and an open end. The open end goes in. And it should kind of click into place, push into place. Take our cap, clean it off a smidge, make sure everything's hunky-dory. Check that O-ring one more time. I'm not replacing the O-rings, nor am I replacing the screens, just the filters and the oil. Those pop on like so. We'll just thread those in there. Remembering that these are 6 Newton meters to tighten, or 4.4, it says pounds feet, I don't know what the hell it's supposed to be. I thought it was foot pounds, and 52.8 inch pounds. And if you're using a smaller torque wrench, you'll be using the inch pounds. I just need to find it. Seriously, where is it, Ripley? Oh, it's right in front of my feet. Okay. Obviously, may as well put the second one in. Duh. So the trick to what I'm doing now is I'm not going to be filling it with oil right away. I'm going to be tightening this I would like that to have clicked already. There it goes. Okay. You're looking for that telltale tick tick of a click type torque wrench, which is what I've got. Okay, so that's front filter. So we're going to do some cleanup here before I forget. And then we'll move on to the right side filter, and then we'll let you know where we're going from there. Alright, we're moved over to the right hand side, and this is the filter that's right above the oil cap filler. So this guy right here. And on my 2014 it has a hose attached to it. On the newer bikes it's just a cap. And for the exercise of what I'm going to do, which is take this whole cover off, on the newer bikes you can take that whole cover off with the cap and do your clutch plates. You could switch your filter at the same time and then put the whole thing back on. But what I'm going to have to do is take this guy off, and then I think what I'll do is I'll replace the filter, I'll leave the filter in place, and then I will take this off and do my clutch plates at that time. Does that make sense? I think so. Whatever. Again, these are 8mm bolt heads. Doing some maintenance on arguably one of the most fun motorcycles. No, it's not. It is easily the most fun motorcycle I've ever owned. This thing's a riot. Could use a bit more power. I've thought about going to a EXC 500 because I don't do touring, and this bike is all set up for the, well, it's got the Rally Raid kit on it with Dakar fairing or Dakar. Well, that's nice. It took the filter out for me, which I left on the other side of my bike. Shoot. Okay. Okay, so this is going to come off. So I think I'm going to leave the filter out for the time being and get the clutch cover off, because this has to come off anyway. And the filter's just going to be sitting there, so that's going to wait. Alright, next steps, clutch cover. When I'm all done everything, I'll put oil in. Okay, we've done the left side oil filter. We've drained all the oil. We've checked and cleaned the oil screens. Cleaned off the shavings off the magnetic plug in the oil plug. There wasn't a lot to worry about. We've got the right filter out, and the cap is hanging free because we're going to take the clutch cover off, and we're going to be replacing some clutch plates today. And we're going to do all that before we add oil, otherwise that would be a mistake. I could lay the bike over, but I've got these giant Rally Raid tanks on there, and I'd have to drain them because they'll just leak. It's a mess. So here we go. We're going to start with a 19mm bolt, which is for the swing arm. And then we're going to take out two 10mm bolts down there. I think they're 10mm. And we'll go from there. So here we are. Okay, so this is our 19mm bolt. I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see what we're doing. Use a breaker bar to crack this thing loose. It's been on there for quite a while now. Ouch! That was my finger that just got stuck in there. That's genius. Okay. Okay, what are we looking at here? We're taking out these two lower bolts so that we can take the whole foot peg bracket and move it away from the clutch cover so that I can take the clutch plates out. Come on, sugar. That's got to be enough. That is what we're trying to accomplish here. But I need that swing arm bolt to come out just like that. Okay, I'm going to give this a whirl where I just, rather than trying to take this bracket off or take the foot peg bracket out of here, I'm going to just take these two lower bolts, take the swing arm bolt, and I'm going to just try and move things out of the way to get that clutch cover off, and hopefully it won't be too much in the way when I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay folks, it is time to take the clutch cover off. A little nervous, never done this before, but I'm going to take my time and I'm going to see how this works. So, first I need an 8mm with what looks to be an extension. Loose, 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 loose. I probably don't need to say that every single time I crack one of these. I think you get the idea. Okay, I'm back at the top. I just heard the cover crack. That means it's ready to come off. If I didn't say this already, I'm doing this because my clutch is slipping. Now there's going to be a couple of dowels too, so I'm going to just move that out of the way. Okay, the gasket's coming with it by the feel of it, unfortunately. That's okay, I've got a replacement gasket. And there we go. One clutch cover off. Okay, I feel kind of vindicated or something, I don't know why. Pretty amazing stuff. So what are these dowels we speak of? That's that thing right there. And one goes right there. I can see it. I got it. Okay, so that goes like that. So that means that goes here. So I'm going to put that on. I don't know what it's for. There's two of them. I'm going to assume that maybe that's how you keep your gasket in place, at the very least, when you're putting this whole rig back together. And I've read too many different things about oiling your gasket and then drying it and then putting it on, and then you read somebody that says no, you clean the cover seal off, you clean this whole seal off, and you put a dry gasket on and seal it together. So I don't know. I might put a little bit of clean oil on there, I think. So next steps. That little plate has to come off. So I'm going to be taking my time again here, so I'll be doing some serious editing after the fact, I think. And since I have a new gasket, I am going to put it on. What the hell, right? High performance bike. Already spent the money. Actually, I got the gasket for free because my clutch plates were so delayed when I had ordered them, which was years ago. I never did actually put them in, so. Yeah. So that's the new set. Kabloomskutted clutch kit made for Husaberg, Husqvarna, and KTM. Part number is 7503201110. This is for the old 690 LC4 engine models, model year 8 to 14. That's me. So what I've read is that you don't need to soak the plates, the friction plates, in oil overnight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this container, I'm going to put it on the ground flat, and I am going to put some clean oil in there, and I'll put the friction plates in there. I'll put everything in there, and then once I take all this stuff out and try and pay attention to how I did it, then when I put all the new stuff back, they'll be oiled as they're going on. So we'll see how that goes. So these are 8mm bolts, and they come out, or bolt head. There's one loosened, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm sorry, you don't need me counting. I digress. Okay, so there's the 4 springs with a washer and a nice long bolt in there. This is going to come out. That's got a bearing. Trying to decide if there's a particular order of how these things go. I see there's number 1 on here. There's a bunch of stuff stamped on it. And the number 1 was opposite the arrow. So I'm going to put the arrow up top. There's an obvious arrow indicator right there. And the number 1 is now at the bottom. So I'm going to take that out. Okay. Now this thing comes out, and there's going to be 4 little springs underneath it. Okay, so the arrow goes up. Alright. And that arrow indicates something too when you're looking inside here. Sorry. That's the inside of this bad boy. I gotta be honest, I wish I knew how some of this stuff actually worked. Okay. When you're looking on the inside of this, there's a little tiny notch cut out. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a notch right there in between these 2 teeth, and that corresponds with the arrow on the other side. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be looking at anything in particular. I think it's got a metal ring on there. Yep. I'm going to leave that ring on because I don't think I get that. There's a little ring right here. I can see it, yeah, so it spins right there. So I'm going to just leave that. And then if it's something that comes with the new plates, then I'll worry about it then. Okay, what's next? Now it's a matter of taking these springs out. Okay, so those only go in 4 exact spots, so that should be fairly straightforward to remember. And there's all these. Okay, here's the first. I know this one's unique. Yes, so this one is its own unique ring, and it is curved, it's convex. So you're not going to be able to see it, but it's dished. Okay, so it's dished like this, not like this. No, dished like that. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it on top of those, and then it's a matter of taking plates and steel rings out. It seems to me that this is a special one where it's skinny, so we'll see when we get some of these out. So that's the very first one, so I'm going to just put that down inside my case, just see if there's anything unique about it. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be feeling, if there's anything in particular that I'm feeling, but they all definitely have a ridge cut out right there. And like I said, this one feels skinnier. So we'll put that one there. Next should be a metal disc. Yep. Okay. Okay, this is the second one out. So I'm going to show you. This is the first one, this is the second one. You can see the difference in thickness between the two. This is the first one, this is the second one. So that's important. So skinny one is on the very outside, then a steel plate, then a fatty, then a metal plate, friction, metal, friction, metal. Okay, now they start going inside the, I think this is called the basket. I'm going to point out something important here too. Ooh, watch my brake lever. There's a little notch right there above where that spring's going to go back in, the skinny spring, but there's one that has a notch, and that's where that arrow is going to be. So we can't forget that. Okay, So now what we're going to need to do is use a tool to dig the rest of those out of there, I think. So again, with this handy spring hook, and we'll go in and we'll dig. Should be a friction plate next. Again, not sure if I'm using the right terminology. Please don't go on YouTube and hate me for it or start lipping off. Metal. Okay, a little finicky. There we go. Try and get the metal one to let go. Friction, still fat frictions, no skinny ones. Metal. We are nearing the end here. Let's try right up there. Friction. Okay, that's it. So we're at the bottom, we're at the end of the list here. The last thing that's in there is a metal disc, a different metal disc. And I'm not going to dig around with a metal tool anymore. Okay, so I can't tell if that stays put or if it's loose or if... I don't think it comes out. It seems to me that my new package of discs, friction plates and metal discs, doesn't include that. So it's important to know that we're going to have the notch at the top. Alright, so we are halfway done the clutch plates. So here's what we're looking at now. I've left this little disc in there. I've got my hub with the mark facing up. And I'm about to put some oil in here, which is the container that the new clutch plates came in. So I'm going to put some oil in here and I'm going to bathe each one as I put it in, starting with a friction disc and ending with that skinniest one. So friction disc, metal disc, back forth, back forth, back forth. I'm using a new ring on this hub. I'll oil that before I put it on. Now I'm not using Motul or Motorex. I'm going to use AMSOIL, dirt bike oil, 10W60. Confident clutch feel, protects gears. We'll see. If I blow my clutch or my engine, then I'll blame AMSOIL. So I have to use 1.7 liters for the bike itself, so I don't want to use all of it in here. So I'll just put some in. We'll see how that goes. And again, I'm going to clean and dry each disc, then bathe it, then put it in. These ones don't look like they have been oiled actually. It's just the metal ones. So I think what I'll do is I'll just oil these friction plates, put them in, and go from there. And if I'm not mistaken, it goes like that in those spots, and the very last one, the skinny one, goes offset into that. So again, if I blow my clutch apart, then you can laugh at me then. So I've read that you're supposed to leave these things in oil overnight. I've read that you're supposed to, some people say, just give them a wipe right out of the package and go from there. I am going to bathe them in clean oil as I'm going. And I probably said that 10 times now, so I apologize. Okay, that's nice and oily. Maybe. What do I do here? What's the trick? What's the trick? What's the trick? What's the trick? Nothing. It's just a little stiff, because it's brand new, I guess. Okay, metal one is next. But I'm going to give that one a little wipe. It seems kind of stupid that they put the wrong kind of lubricant on them and then say, lube them. You'd think that they would come in a package where they're just constantly being lubed. This is supposed to be a lint-free cloth, and it's linting. Okay, submerge in the oil. We'll let some of that drizzle off for a bit. Now we're supposed to line this thing up with that mark. Remember that mark that we got at 12 o'clock there? We're supposed to have that in between two teeth. I don't know if it's in between, like in a hole. Yeah, I think so. Okay, friction plate. This little tray is working well for just bathing them in oil. Let it drain a little bit. Okay, so it's going to go there and it's going to go there, and that's perfect. My glove has a cut in it. Hopefully I don't end up with a nice piece of rubber. Latex glove. That would just swell. Again, my lint-free cloth is not particularly lint-free. That's just great. What we are going to do is we're going to match those teeth up with the other ones as we're doing this. And at the very end of this all, that should make it go on easier. Tip my package for my lubrication station. Just got a little bit of oil in the bottom there and just kind of giving them a little bath. I see that these steel rings have a line on them, which is great. There's a little line right there. I don't know if that's supposed to be in or out, but oh yeah, lube. I don't know if I did my last one. Oopsie. This might be overkill. I don't know, but more oil seems better than less oil. You know what I mean? Well, that's why they're playing crappy music. It's the Disco Inferno Hall of Fame. I think I said this before, but I'm a little weirded out. I'm gonna be honest with you. Having this much of my bike apart is not something I'm used to doing. I'll do tires and rims and brake discs and or brake pads, what have you, but this is a little outside of my wheelhouse. But if I do it and it works, that would be kind of slick. Okay. Give this friction plate a little bath in the oil. I might have to top up the oil in the tray here. I don't want to use too much of it because I've only got 2 liters, or what is it? That says 1 US quart. I'm in Canada, so we use liters. It's 946 milliliters equals 1 US quart. And so these AMSOIL bottles are in quarts. And you need, but I'll stick with liters and milliliters. I need 1.7 apparently. So I want to make sure I have enough when it's all said and done left in the bottles. Having some oil on them makes it easier to center those discs, the metal ones, because we want to have them kind of in a good place when it comes to, Jesus, speak English here, dude. If these are all lined up, when it comes time to put the pressure plate back on, things will fit nicely. Everything's going to just line up. That sounds better than not lining up. And I poured a drink and I should have it in here with me. Stress reliever. Okay. This one is suitably oiled up. There goes that. So we got 2 each left. There we go. I'm running out of oil in my little tray here, so I'm getting a little creative with just wiping it on, which must be just as good. Somebody tell me when I'm all done this thing in the comments that what I did was good enough. I need your validation, folks. That would be ideal. I don't need it, but if I'm doing this horribly wrong, that would be interesting. And too late, because I'm going to end up starting this bike up when I'm done. And using it. And so if I find out that I've done it wrong, I'll be finding out the hard way. Okay, here comes the last metal plate. So we'll line her up nice. And now comes the last one. This is the skinny one, remember? So we'll get some oil on it. I'm sure I'll have lots of oil left in the containers to fill up the bike when I'm done, because I didn't put that much in this little tray, and I'm done. Now it's just a matter of remembering what the hell order I did these things in. This is the one, remember, that gets offset, so it doesn't go in the same spot as all the other discs. It goes one off, from what I understand. Okay, there we go. So I'll have my plate, a little push plate thing with that new ring on it. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that. Because why not? When in doubt, lube her up. Okay? There's going to be a lot of oil in this thing before too long anyway, but can't hurt. Okay, we're back to it. I've had a couple of tastes of liquid courage, so I'm ready to go again. I think this is that's just the old flat one, I don't need that. So I've got friction plate steel disc alternating all the way out in that slot, and then in the very last one you do a skinny friction plate and it's offset and it goes into this spot, and then you put this curved ring back in. This little disc has an arc and it's impossible to see, but it goes arc like that, if that makes any sense whatsoever, and it goes inside that friction disc. Okay, now it's time to put this guy back in place, and to do that, remember we've got the notch up at 12 o'clock there, and we're going to line that up with this arrow. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's an arrow right there. And we're going to do that. We're not going to put the springs in yet. The little springs are going to stay out for now. That's these guys. Those little springs are staying out, because what we're going to do is we're just going to line things up here. So it's just a matter of wiggling it back and forth, I guess, until we get it into place. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that's pushed all together. That means all my friction plates and all my steel discs are lined up. And then we're going to take this out, and we don't want to bring any discs with us, so we'll just be really careful. And the inner hub, supposedly that moves a little bit, like back and forth like that. And it's okay that it does that, and I see that that little guy doesn't like to stay in there. So we're going to just put it on the inner hub here. Okay, so now we're going to put the 4 springs in. I can hear my dog scratching feverishly at the door to come out into the garage. This would be one of those times when if the bike was leaning over, everything would stay in place a lot easier, like all these springs. I guess we'll see. Okay, line everything up.
No, see there. Dad?
Yeah.
Supper's ready.
Shoot.
The dog wants to see you.
Okay.
Ripley, come here. Come on. It's up time. Do you want to come have a cucumber? Come have a cucumber. Dad, come on. Ripley, come get a cucumber inside. Do you want to have a treat? Come on. Ripley, let's go. Good boy.
Okay, I think we're in gear, in business here. Everything is lined up. All right, I've been messing around with what I'm supposed to do here, but I think I've got it rigged up. So, that little plate, just as a reminder, there's a flat washer, flat ring that goes against that, but there is also the curved disc that goes there. I've got my 4 screws in because I'm pretty much lined up. I've got my notch at the top. I've got my arrow at the top. I'm going to carefully put this back. Maybe. Kind of like, sort of. Give it a little wiggle, maybe. Okay, now I've got to make sure that my screws or my springs are aligned. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and that one was already in place, so that's 4. Okay, so we're spring loaded against that. Now that plate goes in. I've got my 4 new springs. Put those in. I put some oil on them, clean oil. And now it's a matter of putting the bolts back in. I don't know if they'll thread a little bit. Oh, so they do. So we're going to just hand thread these in. And then it'll be a matter of getting it torqued down. To the right specifications. This is not a good time to use muscle and guess what the torque should be. Like, it's not about being snug or whatever, it's about being exactly right. Again, you got a high performance bike, super tight tolerances. May as well use the right torque. Just finger tightening these all kind of down evenly. I don't have my bike on a stand right now, I'm just using the kickstand. When I go to the next part of this, which is after I get the gasket on and the case on, and a new filter in there. I'm going to be doing the countershaft seal repair. Okay, we're putting the pressure plate on here, and we're going to torque these down to 53 inch-pounds. So again, I'm on my easiest clutch setting, slow. And I know they went in there a ways. Okay, that one started to slip. That one slipped. Slip. Slip. Okay. So, let's see what we got here. We'll get our extension. We'll get our torque wrench. This is our 8mm bolts. There's one. There's two. There's three. I'm counting again, sorry. And it's very typical of me as a Canadian to say sorry, as you all know. So I've heard some people tighten these a little bit tighter than 6. So I'm just giving it one extra tiny little tweaky tweak. Get a dry rag. Clean that gasket area. I hope that's okay. Let's see here. I'm probably being a little bit overly cautious here. There is the new one. Looks like it's going to go on something like that. And again, I was mentioning the thing about the dowels. There's 2 dowels. There's one there, and there's one over here right in front of the swing arm bolt. And it's better to have them in the engine case so that when you go to put the gasket on, the gasket will stay where you put it. Like so. Get up there. I almost want to put a little bit of oil on it just to get it to sit super flat against the case. It just doesn't seem to make sense that you would do that. So I'm not going to do that. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything while I'm standing here with this thing apart. I am going to be putting this on. That one's nice and dirty. Okay, I'm going to put this on. I'll obviously hose her all down afterwards, after the fact. But let's see if we can get in here without making a complete mess of this whole thing. And then we're going to tighten down some certain screws and leave some other ones alone for the time being, and then we're going to tighten them all and we're going to torque them down, and life's going to be grand. So this is just sit just like that. Okay? Looks good to me. Now hopefully, it seems to me I started at the Y of the frame. So I think you mount certain screws first. Bolts. You mount 3. Mount this one over here and that one over. Good God, that's a small picture. I'm looking at the manual here. So that one's that, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm taking the 12th one, which is a unique little bastard. And I'm not using Loctite, and it doesn't say to, so I'm not gonna. So I'm going to put this 12th one in right there. Super slow. Alright, so that's just a little bit more than finger tight. And once you've done that, now you can tighten them to the torque specification for those bolts, which is 10 Newton meters, which is 88.5 inch-pounds. So let's get the old, or 7.4 foot-pounds. So where's our little torque wrench? Am I going to be able to see 88.5 on this thing? What do I want? 88.5 inch-pounds. Okay, good thing I brought glasses this time. First, loosen off your torque wrench all the way. Then dial up. There's a dial on here that's inch-pounds, and on this side it's centimeters per kilograms. So we want 88. So I'm dialing. You can't see this, I have no doubt. But there's a little graded scale. So we're going to find 80. And we're going to get to the 80 mark. That's 80 right there. And we want 88.5. So there's 80. Wait, there's 85, 86, 87, 88 and a half. Tighten her down, and here we go. And we're doing in a crisscross pattern, and it says tighten all screws in a crisscross pattern. Alright, well, we'll start at number 1. That seems like a great place to start. It would be smart if I had my lug wrench or my ratchet hooked up properly. Okay, so we're tightening. And these are aluminum, so the last thing you want to do is snap one off. Come on, honey. Let's click. There it goes. So there's that one. We'll come down here and we'll do this one. There that one goes. So there's that one. That one. Okay, I think I got them all. So I'm going to start up at the 1 position, or my number 1, and I'm going to just go around to all 12 and see what we get here. But I think we got them all. Number 1. Oh, I didn't do that one yet. Oops. And I'm back to number 1. So my swing arm still needs to go on, but that one needs Loctite, as do those little guys at the bottom. And that bolt is a train wreck of rust and crud. So I'm going to clean it off with a wire brush, and I'll Loctite it and start over. But I think before I do anything else, I think I'm going to put this oil filter in and get it over with. What do you think I did with the screws? Found them. These are also 8mm. I'm going to guess that they're the same torque, but since that's a dumb idea to guess, I am going to put it in. Look at that shiny brand new filter, isn't that beautiful? Oh! I will put that in. Make sure it's seated properly. I've already checked the O-ring. So now it's a matter of putting that fitting on the outside. Nice and snug. Get rid of those slimy gloves. And I'm going to check the torque values of the oil filter in my handy dandy printed out repair manual for the 2014 KTM 690 Enduro R. Install the oil filter. Oil the O-ring. Oil the O-ring of the oil filter cover. Okay, that's good to know. Take that off, because I don't think I oiled the O-ring. And then it's 6 Newton meters. That's right too. This one is way less. So that's 4.4 pounds. Okay, 6 Newton meters is 53 inch-pounds. So we're back to the old trusty wrench. We're back to the glasses. $50 is right there. That's 50. 51, 52, 53. Tighten that up. Okay, now we're supposed to oil the O-ring. Roger that. So we'll get some oil. And again, it doesn't say anything about Loctite, so I am going to go without. That just gives me the willies. I'm a bit of a Loctite fan. Put that one on up there. Here we go. Boy, that doesn't seem like very much tension. Well, that's what it is. Okay, that concludes clutch plates, friction and steel discs, a new curved one, new big springs, a new gasket. Everything's been torqued down. So now we're moving on to the swing arm bolt and the 2 bolts that hold the foot peg bracket as well. Yeah. So I'll get some torque specifications for those things and some blue Loctite, because I'm definitely Loctiting those. Okay, we are moving on to putting the swing arm back. Not the swing arm, but the swing arm bolt. Okay, so there's that one. And then there's these 2 bolts down here that mount the foot peg bracket. So, this guy is the big 19mm bolt. And it's 80 Newton meters or 59 foot-pounds. So, first, a little of our good buddy Loctite, medium strength. I just do one little strip. I've always wondered, but never really asked. Don't really care a whole lot. I suppose I do, I shouldn't say that. So 59 foot-pounds, that's pretty hefty. So we're all rigged up. What I should have done was get these two guys in place before I did anything else. Because what if they're not in the right alignment? Let's find out. Okay, so we need where'd that one go? Oh crap. Oh, it's right there. I'm actually going to Loctite these two. It seems to me that these are a pain to get out. We are going to torque this one down. That's beefy. This is one of those ones where you don't want your hand to slip when you're... There we go. One more for good measure. That always kind of freaks me out. Alright, we're moving on to the next step here. It is time to do the countershaft sprocket seal. And that means I've got to take that cap off. That filthy thing right there. You can see all the gummy oil. I've cleaned the skid plate. And now it's time to mount the skid plate so I can put my bike on my stand, which will make that a lot easier because I may have to take the rear wheel and slide it forward to loosen the chain enough to get it off the sprocket, which would be unfortunate. We're going to try first, but I'm going to take the countershaft nut off, or I'm going to try while the bike is off the stand. I'll put it in gear, hold the brake, rear brake, and try and crack that nut, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I just took the sprocket cover off, and aside from the foliage, which there's lots of, it's just covered in gunge. So something interesting I just found out as I'm wiping off it's not even being held in place by that washer that's supposed to have a bend in it to keep it from moving. So maybe that's why it's leaking. I'm here now, so I'm going to be replacing the whole seal assembly, but that was unfortunate to find out. There's my dog. So I'm going to see if I can actually take this sprocket off of the splines while the chain is still on the bike before the tire gets moved forward and all that jazz, so we'll see. This is the flat part. You can see how it's got a flat edge right there. Now there's a washer right here. That's my dog again. It's supposed to be bent up enough to... Okay, seriously, dude, get out of the way. This is supposed to be bent up enough to keep that thing from loosening itself off. So that is really unfortunate. Oh man, that would be nice if I could get that out. Holy cow. This sprocket is toast. This sprocket is completely toast. Shoot. Holy cow. It's just little spikes. Well, this is a 14 tooth that I've really enjoyed. I have a 15 tooth, I guess, that I'm going to be putting on now, which I didn't want to do because I really like the 14. But I don't think I've got a choice, because that thing is pooched. It's even sharp just to hold it in my hand and clean it off. I'm looking to see where it lists the number of teeth. Granted, yes, I could count them. Ripley, you stink. Get out of here. Hey, get out of here. Dude, beat it. You stink. There it is. 1902 14. Okay. That's garbage. Well, we're going to pause here, and I am going to go get a different sprocket, which, because it's 15 teeth, probably won't go on unless I loosen the chain. Okay, well, it's a good thing I bought a parts bike a couple years ago for the Enduro that I have. I'm going to dig through some of the boxes, and I think it's in this very first one, which has a bunch of gears and sprockets and what have you. So let's see what we got. That's essentially brand new. That's not. That looks like a front sprocket right there. Hoses, triple clamp, fuel pump, chain, and a Kropovich spring for something. Another sprocket. That's good. Well, unfortunately, my 15 tooth sprocket, or my 16 tooth, 16, 15, the 16's in much better shape. I would not stay with a 16 tooth no matter what, but I think I'm going to have to put it on now as a matter of principle, because it's the one in better shape. And this 15 tooth doesn't have much life left in it. The problem now is I can't get the 16 tooth in and get it on the splines, on the shaft. I might be able to with the 50, and if I could, man, would that ever save me a bunch of time. Well, I'm not convinced. It feels like it might be able to go if I fart it around long enough, but screw it. I'll loosen my axle I'll take the chain off the sprocket, bring the chain forward. I'll have done the countershaft seal replacement by then, and I'll put the 16 on, and I'll go like a bat to hell on the highway, I guess. Not that that's ever what I do. And I'll order a 14 tooth and redo this whole thing again. Shoot. Okay, well, it's on to the countershaft seal repair then, which we can still do. So I don't know if you can see that okay, but that's what I'm aiming for. So there's the spacer with the groove in it. That goes in like that. And I'm going to have to use tools to pick that thing out, I think. So, I shall return. We're going to try and get this countershaft seal out. That's this guy right here. Find my handy dandy spring hook. I don't think this is going to have enough pull. Nope. Okay, I got it out, but I had to do some serious surgery. That countershaft seal goes in like that. I couldn't get it out. Essentially the blue ring here just gets locked right in against the outside of that hub. And so I had to hammer. I tried prying it out, but it doesn't work, or it didn't work. So I ended up having to hammer in one of the sides to deform it so that I could pull it out. So that's how badly it had to get deformed. But I was careful while I was doing it, if that's any consolation to me. And now I understand there's an O-ring in there. So make sure there's no little bits and pieces of anything. I'm happy to report that my O-ring came out with that spacer. I don't know if you can focus on that. I don't think anything I'm doing is in focus these days. Anyway, it was in there. So while I was desperately looking inside on the splines to find it, it wasn't there. The next step would be to put the O-ring on the splines, on that shaft, then put the seal in, tap it down super gently. Hopefully we've got a big enough socket that we can use to surround it and hammer it in. And then it's the bushing, then the star washer, then the nut, and then torque that down, 44 foot-pounds I think, and then swage the washer up so that it can't come loose, so the nut can't come loose like it did before, which, like I said, might be the reason that we were leaking in the first place. Here's the new, some of the new pieces. There's the new spacer, or the new, there's the new seal. Cup side goes in. There's the new O-ring. There's what I'm calling the star washer that needs to get an edge flipped up. So we'll leave that for later. So there's the O-ring in place. So I don't know if this blue stuff is Loctite or just what. But maybe it's good that there's a little bit of lubrication on there to help it get in. Because she's going to be a snug fit. Now it's time for the new spacer. The previous one had a groove in it for the O-ring. This one does not, and that's kind of weirding me out. It seems to me that this might be the thicker version that people complained about. God, I hope not. There it goes. We're back at it here. We've got the seal in and the O-ring and the spacer. Now it's time to put the sprocket on. I showed you that my 14 tooth is completely toast. My 15 tooth that I have has seen better days, and the 16 tooth looks like it's in really good shape, but there's no way I'm going to get it on unless I move the tire. So I think I'll see if I can get this 15 tooth on. Basically what's left after that is put the washer on and the new nut. Doesn't need to be the new one, but we'll put it on. Okay, so I got the 15 tooth in, but I can't get it on the splines, which means the whole tire has to move forward a little bit to move the chain forward, I should say. And to do that, I need to get it up on my stand, and to do that, I'm going to put my skid plate back on. That big beefy thing makes for a good flat spot to attach or to put it on the stand. I can't believe how much abuse this thing has taken, holy cow. If you're ever in doubt about using a piece of foam, you can get heat resistant foam that works on your skid plate and goes up against your engine, and it really takes away from the amount of mud and crud that can get built up in there. So if you've ever wondered about it, you should do it because it works like a charm. Okay, the bike is on the stand, and what am I doing? I'm going to take the axle out of the back tire and basically get the spacers out so that I can move the wheel forward chain will go forward. I can get the sprocket in. Then I'll have to adjust the chain tension adjusters to match the new sprocket. Yeah, because it's a bigger sprocket, so the chain will be tighter. So I'm going to use my handy dandy 32mm tire spoon / wrench, and I'm going to undo that. But before I do, I'm going to strap my bike down to the lift, because that's probably the smart thing to do. Okay, so I've loosened off, taken the axle, pushed it out of the way. Now I'm back to my sprocket. I put the 15 on there, I got it in. And there it goes. Okay, so that's all well and good, but I still need to adjust the tensioners. That's key. Hey, nice. The new nut has two flat edges where you can bend the, I don't know if you can see that, two flat edges for when you go to bend the washer up. That needs to be torqued down to 44 foot-pounds if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I'm not really sure where we left off, but I got the clutch plates in, I got my oil filters done, the oil screens are cleared, I got the new sprocket on, and the new countershaft seal in place, and then the new sprocket because my old one is pooched. That's that guy. And because it's a bigger sprocket, I'm a little surprised by this, but I have to move my tire forward a little bit to get enough chain slack. I couldn't even get it on. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll put the tire back in its proper spot, and we'll move on. Top it up with the oil, start her up, see if everything works. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. That's what I'm working on. So I move the block forward a little bit. Need to find the little marks so I know where I'm at. Where are those little marks? Oh, they're right there. So there's two little divots in the top of the swing arm. One there and one there. And basically you use these, there's little lines, little notches on the top of this spacer block, and you just sort of line up. So my very last line is currently in alignment with the outer edge of the first notch on the top of the swing arm, if that makes any sense. What you do is you can basically go to the other side and match your spacer nut and bolt to the exact same distance, and then make sure that you've got the proper chain tension. Okay, leading edge, second line, leading edge of the arc. Second line, leading edge of the arc. Okay? So we'll tighten this down. I could use like non-crossed over hands, I suppose. Snug up the one that's up against the swing arm by holding the one that's up against the spacer block. Okay. I need to get a socket for this, obviously, so I can ensure that I have the right torque, because I don't have a torque, or I don't have a socket that's 32 mil, which is too bad. Why don't I? Okay, so that feels a little bit loose as it is, but don't forget, we're going to put it on the ground, and then when the swing arm is level, it should be better. And it's not bad as it is. So, I guess it's time to add the oil back, which I should have done already. Then I'm going to clean the chain. Ripley. Hey! Did you see a rabbit? Yeah, I did too. That's enough to get everybody excited. Okay, we are on the tail end here of doing everything. I got all my oil in. There's our sight glass. A little on the high side, but once I get everything all started up, it'll disperse. And there's the other exciting news. New tire. The other one's not that bad, but you can't beat brand new. Alright, we're all done. Oil's in. Let's give this thing a start and see what we get. This is what worries me. That's in first gear with the clutch in. Is that normal? Clean the chain before I put the sprocket guard on. Seems like a good idea. I've got some muck off chain cleaner and chain lube down there. Smells like bubblegum. My chain tension seems to be good, so I'm not going to screw with that at all. We'll just give her a clean and get ready, and then think about putting on the new tire. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna wreck this one first. Go burn it off doing something fun. I don't know if I was videotaping any of that, but I had a really cool brush on there that looks like this. You basically just spiral it on your chain, spray some chain cleaner on there, rotate the tire a few times in either direction, and you end up with a nice shiny clean chain, which is basically what that looks like. And as I was saying, it's the cleanest part of my bike right now. So I'm going to put the cover on, sprocket cover, and we should be ready to ride. Okay, obviously I need to lube the chain as well. So I'm using Muck Off Endurance Chain Lube. Stuff works pretty good. And it smells good. Shake well. Keep it away from the brakes. Strawberry. Alright, it's time to put the countershaft sprocket cover on. And like I said, I'm looking for a different bolt. One that has a matching head to that, rather than a Phillips head. So that when you're out on the trail and you need to fix something, you're not looking for a bunch of different tools. Awesome! I got my bike back. That's a huge difference. I just took it out on the highway with these new clutch plates in. No slipping in 5th and 6th. It's all power, all the time. And it's a 15-tooth sprocket, so that's stock. But I might leave it in there because as I was farting around in first gear, it still felt like it was decent enough. So I might save my money and not get a 14-tooth again. We'll see. I like that 14-tooth gear. It was pretty torquey. But it's nice to get on the highway and go 150 kilometers an hour without sweating. And generally speaking, I wouldn't do that in shorts and a t-shirt. And I wasn't going 150. I was going 100 kilometers an hour, which is the speed limit. No, sorry, 90. 90 is the speed limit where I was just now. My speedometer is obviously wrong.